States that his purpose for writing his second volume. Something changed in there?
Yeah, besides, because come on now.
Oh, okay. All right. Luke states that his purpose for writing his second volume work in the prologue to Luke. In Luke, he tells you why he wrote his first work. He says, can we get back to the original? This is a little bit.
You can drop the volume.
Drop the volume or something. Yeah, okay. Inasmuch as many have undertaken, he writes in his Luke chapter 1, in his first volume of the 2 volumes. Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile an account of the things accomplished among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. It seems fitting for me as well, having investigated everything carefully from the beginning, to write it out for you in consecutive or chronological order. Most excellent Theophilus. Luke is telling us that as a historian, he investigated it. There were many accounts of it. Mark and Matthew were written, but Luke wanted to write. Matthew was written almost, you say, why were the 4 Gospels written? Ever understand why there were need for 4 Gospels? Why couldn't one Gospel, one complete Gospel do? We'll bring this out in our Gospels class.
Multiple witness accounts.
Multiple witness accounts, yes. You see, each of the Gospels was targeting in the first century, was written with a particular audience in mind. If I was writing a tract for certain groups of people, maybe the Hindus, I would write a tract in a certain kind of way, presenting the same information of Jesus. If I was writing it for another group of people, I would write the tract a little differently. Matthew was a wonderfully long, wonderful tract written for the Jewish people. That's why it starts with the genealogy, Matthew chapter 1. Because the first thing the Jews would ask is, if Christ was a Messiah, he had to be from the line of Abraham and David. And that's why they start with the genealogy. The first thing is, prove he's the son of Abraham and David. Kind of messes you up, because you'd think, why are you starting with Matthew here? For the Jew, that made perfect sense. I want to know the family tree of the Messiah. You understand? Matthew quotes the Old Testament prophets much more than any other one. He's proving that Christ is the Messiah. Mark was written for the Roman world. It talks of the Roman centurion getting saved at the end. He uses Latin words much more. John was written at the end to prove that Jesus was the Son of God, the eternal deity of Christ. But Luke was written for the whole world. It was written for the Roman world. Okay? And so if you understand it that way, so he's writing now Theophilus. Who is Theophilus? We'll find out in a moment. Theophilus is unknown through Luke's address, though Luke's address of him as most excellent Theophilus suggests he was a Roman official. He may have been a Christian that Luke was instructing, maybe Luke had led him to the Lord, or a pagan that he was trying to persuade. Luke wrote in part for 3 reasons. Number 1, he wrote the book of Acts and Luke to commend Christianity to the Roman world. He directs attention to the high character of the Christians as law-abiding disciples or citizens, people in the book of Acts. He constantly shows them how they kept the law, even though they were flogged, and how sometimes Roman officials gave partiality to them. He also tells the story of how Christianity spread. He also makes it clear in the book of Acts to the Jewish people that the gospel is not the exclusive possession. It is for all people. Nor did the Gentiles first have to become Jews in order to become Christians. We'll see that in Acts 15, the Jerusalem Council. And finally, Luke's primary purpose is to show the spread of Christianity, empowered and energized by the Holy Spirit throughout the whole Roman world. And that's the purpose of him writing the book of Acts. You can go home and read your outline. That is just some of the things we'll cover in the outline. And one great way to study an outline is just to, when we were in Bible college and seminary, we were encouraged to look at the outline and say, okay, chapter 1 is this, chapter 2 is that, and chapter 3 is that. So if you're not familiar with the book of Acts or haven't read it enough, you should be able to say, Acts chapter 8, oh, I know what that is. That's Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. In Acts 9, Saul's conversion. Acts 10, Cornelius. So when you are preaching or doing a Bible study, you don't figure out, where is that in the Bible? I know it's somewhere in the book of Acts. Okay, so outlines are good for that purpose. So try to, it's not on your test, but try to go over that outline carefully at some point in time. It's given for your benefit. This is your class schedule. I want you to just look at it a little bit here. Your class is almost always on a Friday, by the way, except for twice, okay? Once is when I'm traveling. I'm going to Orissa on March the 2nd, and I cannot change that part of the plan. I've got people coming down from overseas also. So on that particular time, March the 2nd, in class number 11, we'll be told in advance, don't worry. But that will shift the class to Thursday just for that day. Is that okay for you? All right, once, and then we have another time when we actually, I believe, have Good Friday. And on Good Friday, we've got a praise march, so we don't want to do anything on a Good Friday. So we're going to keep it on the Thursday, 5th of April, class number 21, 22. Okay? We might also have to squeeze in one extra class in the following week, and then we'll finish our 30 classes. I'm trying to be done by May the 4th, and that gives you just about 31 classes, about 15 Fridays is what we're going to look at to cover this book, okay? Why don't you look at your, what is required for those who are taking credit? How many of you are taking this for credit? Credit means you're taking it for exams, you're moving towards a grade. Audit, let me say this, okay? If you're taking it for audit, hey, welcome, so happy to have you. Audit means you're just in the class, you're taking the class for learning, for growing, for getting to know the book of Acts. But you don't want the assignments and the tests and try to keep all that. You just think, maybe I could do that. Then you're just taking for audit. And that's perfectly fine. You're welcome. You'll get all the handouts and everything else that's there. But if you're taking it for credit, then you need to listen to this very quickly, because this being a Bible college, okay, we've got certain policies and certain requirements, so that you, just very quickly, you show up for the class on time. If you're late, 15 minutes late, you get a late mark. Sorry, this is a little bit of self-discipline. You got to complete all your reading and homework assignments on time. If you submit late, you get a late grade. Focus on your attendance. There's an attendance sheet at the back. And you need, as soon as you come in, please fill that attendance. Okay? Or before the class, at the end of the class, just go and sign your name in. Every student for his 2-credit class of 30 classes is allowed a maximum of 4 absentees. But because we take 2 classes per day, that means that you can only miss 2 full days, okay? Otherwise you switch to audit, because that's a requirement. You can't be having in 30 classes more than 4 absentees. Your method of evaluation is going to be based on weekly assignments. Every week, you're going to get a simple assignment that's going to be really awesome. You can just go over it in half an hour. I'm going to say you will finish that assignment. Half an hour per week. That's not hard. But the assignment is to make you think. The assignment is for you to, you know, the best kind of studying is when the teacher is a facilitator and you really are doing the learning. So when you dig into the Word and you are studying the Word and you are asking the questions and you are asking questions in class, you can put your hand up at any time and ask for, what does this mean, Pastor? I didn't understand that. That's when you learn the best, okay? So weekly assignments, there's a final exam. 1 week before the final exam, I'll give you a full review of what will be on your test, and you study for it, and it gives you a chance to revise what we have learned, okay? By the way, every student is strongly encouraged, putting the book of Acts into practice. Find a ministry. Find a ministry to share. You know, the Lord has not called us only to be theologians. He's called us to be what? Ministers for Him. And so I want to encourage every student, strongly encouraged to partake of some weekly outreach. If you are from another church, just do an outreach or ministry with your church. And just say, I want to put into practice what I'm learning. Okay? Any student committed to a weekly outreach gets an extra 2 credits. There's extra credits for a missionary practicum. It's part of the course. If you were in Bible school, 2 credits are now extra for a missions practicum. We're adding that to the Bible school. So now if you're involved in ministry or in missions work, you get 2 credits at the end of the semester, which goes in the Bible college grade sheet, because the idea really is to encourage you for ministry. Okay, let's take a break. Um, and in about 10 minutes, we'll come back. Any questions, anybody? In the next, we'll just jump into the first chapter right away, and this is just an introduction. So, okay.